flyer today. It's a relatively simple design, but it can be used for a lot of different things. This one is going to be a one sheet for an open house, but you can use the same kind of template for other things down the road as well. So what we're going to do is create a design, and then when you click on this button, it opens up a menu of a bunch of different canned sizes. And we are going to obviously select flyer. And when we do that, we're going to get a blank document, just like so. So with Canva, if you're not feeling terribly creative and you're wanting to just pull something that already exists, whenever you open up a document like a flyer or a social media size document or whatever it may be, it will populate some templates for you that are all down the side here that you're able to use. Like I said, some of them are probably going to be, you need to pay for those if you have the free version, but there are a lot of free ones as well. So if you wanted to do something like this, all you would have to do is click on it and you can change the text, the colors, all that good stuff. So that's already there. Today, however, we are going to be a little more creative, a little more hands-on, and build something from scratch. So,
hey, I have a question. Sorry. Yeah. Did you go to templates for that, or what did you hit?
So when you're on the home screen, in the top right corner, you see create a design. You're on your phone though, aren't you?
No, I have it opened up on the.
Okay. You have in the top left, create a design.
Okay.
A big button, just click on that. And then you can either search for flyer or just scroll until you find flyer.
Okay, I got it. Sorry.
Nope, don't apologize. Questions are good. Okay, so I'm gonna hop back over to my blank document. First thing I'm gonna do is name it something. It helps me be organized because I make a lot of things in Canva, and if you forget to name something, it can be harder to find it later. So I'm gonna call it 1234 Main Street, open house, flyer. Super easy, you can always change this later if you want to. All right, so I'm gonna go following the steps of the handout. Not that you can see the handout, but so if you have it open, you can kind of follow along here. So the first thing we're gonna do is find a photo for this. Let me show you what the finished product is gonna look like. So this is what it's gonna end up looking like. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the header, which is gonna be this part up top. So I'm gonna flip back to my blank document. And I'm going to reference the left-hand toolbar here. You've got photos, elements, text, videos, background, uploads, folders, and more. Do you guys see that there? So this here is where you're going to access all of your different building blocks for a document, whether it's a photo or an animation or different text or backgrounds, things like that. They're all going to live here. So we're looking for this house photo right here. So I'm going to search, I'm going to select photos because it's a real picture. And then we're going to search house. And then I'm going to scroll until I find it. And there it is. So when you click on an image, it's going to automatically populate on your screen. As you can see, it's got size toggles and crop toggles on the image. So what we're going to do is drag it up to the top and expand the photo to go the entire width of the page. So this is looking good. Bruce, get out of the garbage. Come here. Come here. Oh my gosh, he's being such a nerd. Come on. So sorry. Okay, so this is looking good, but there is a lot of sky happening here and it's eating up a lot of our free space. That's something to kind of think about when you're using photos, is how to arrange them to get the most out of the space you have. So all I'm gonna do is drag it up so that there's a little bit less sky. And when you drag an image off of a artboard or your document here, it automatically crops it. You see how it just disappears off the edge of the page? I'm going to go like so, and I'm pretty happy with that. So then, what was that? Does somebody have a question? Nope, okay, cool. The next thing we're gonna do is create this overlay right here. So this overlay is actually 3 individual pieces. We've got a triangle, a rectangle, and a text box. So there are a couple of shortcuts I also included on your handout to make your life easier. It's how I roll in Canva for sure. So if you hit the R button on your keyboard, a rectangle will show up. It's going to be just a big gray rectangle, not terribly pretty, but it will automatically appear for you. Obviously, it's taking up the entire size of the page. That's not so good. So we're going to go ahead and shrink him down just till about there. And then I'm going to drag and drop it onto the photo. So now is where you're going to reference back to those hex numbers that I showed you earlier. Do you see when it's selected, it's got the teal box around it with the size toggles and things? When you select that, you also get a gray square up in the top left of the document. Do you guys see that? So when you click on this is when it opens up your color library. So earlier I mentioned to you guys that you can save color schemes in Canva. This is what it will look like for you when you do that. So we have our 4 different palettes in here. 2 of them are for the school and Tresque, and then the others are for concepts. So we're going to turn this gray bar into this kind of powdery blue color by selecting it. For you guys, what you'll do is you'll actually go up here to the search bar and you're going to type in hex number 007 DC3. And then it's going to appear. All right. Since I have them pre-saved, all I have to do is select the color, but that's up here in the search bar is where you'll enter hex numbers for colors. So the next thing we're going to do is change the opacity. So as you can see here, if we reference back to the final product, the bar on top of this photo is slightly transparent. So the way you get that effect is you have it selected again. When you have an object selected, you're going to get a toolbar across the top here where you change the color, but also where you can change the position and also the opacity. So we're going to go ahead and select this little checkerboard guy here, and then it's going to drop down a slider. And we are going to slide this down to 65%. So in doing that, we've got, is that me getting feedback or is that somebody talking? Okay, sounds good. So the bar is now slightly transparent. We can see the image behind it, but the color is still pretty strong. So that's good. We're going to move on to the triangle. So to get to the shapes, because there are a ton of different shapes in Canva, you're going to look back over here to the left-hand side to the toolbar. And instead of going to photos this time, we're going to go to elements. Elements has a whole bunch of things. From shapes to grids to frames to GIFs to animations. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here that you can just get lost in. But when it opens, as you can see here, there's several different categories. We're going to scroll down to shapes. And then you're going to select See All, which will open up the entire shapes library. So there are a ton of things in here. And the neat thing about it is when you select one, you have the option to change the color to whatever you like. But we are going to find a right triangle. Oh, let me add Jacqueline here. So we're going to find a right triangle. Here he is. Obviously, it's the wrong size, wrong color, wrong angle. So we're going to change all of those things. Hi, Jacqueline. So what we're going to do is change the triangle to be the same blue color as the bar. So the neat thing about Canva as well is it keeps track of what colors you've used in a document. So that blue is already there for you to use. You don't have to re-enter those hex numbers. So once we've made our triangle blue, I'm actually going to take this control down here at the bottom. It's a little rotating arrow. And I'm going to rotate it to sit on its other side. So, and a nice thing too is it shows you what degree it is. Obviously 90 degrees means perfectly parallel. Bro, stop it. He is killing me. So we are going to then make it smaller just by dragging these size toggles. And I'm going to go ahead and line it up directly with this bar. Okay, so do you see how I did that? Yep, okay. So all I did was adjust with the size toggle, so it is sitting right there up against that bar. So it looks like they're almost one piece. And then what I'm gonna do here is also change the opacity. I'm gonna reselect, click on the transparency, drag it down to 65%. And now when you click out of it, it looks like it's one solid shape. Can you all see my screen? I can't see the rest of you, so.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like U's having trouble seeing my screen, so I just wanted to make sure everybody can see what we're doing here. Okay, so now that we've got the overlay bar created and the image in place, we're going to add our text header. And another shortcut for placing text is go ahead and just tap T, letter T on your keyboard. A text box will appear. It's going to be pretty small, but it'll pop up automatically for you. So what we're going to do, when you guys do that, what do you see what font yours is? Mine up here is Gotham. What does your guys' come up as?
Mine's Sans Light.
Okay. So what you'll do is go ahead and click on the drop down bar here up at the top. I'm going to have you search for Arial. So it's Arial with an extra L and the E at the end. It's very special. It's going to look very similar to Gotham, but it is already loaded into the free Canva. All right, so now once we've got the font set, we're going to change the color of the font, because if you see here, when you place that black text on top of the blue bar, it's not as easy to read as we would like. So I'm going to go ahead and select it, and notice again we've got the teal bar around the outside, and then up at the top we have a toolbar. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the A with the rainbow below it, which will again open our color library. We're going to go with white. So for you guys, the white hex color I want to say is just FFF, FFF. Yes. But if you don't want to remember that, you can open this guy here and this little slider, just drag it all the way up to the top corner and it'll be white for you.
I'm not seeing where you have the text area above. I see it to the side off to the left, but not above. It just says duplicate position and then the paint roller.
For when you're trying to change your font?
To even come up with a font.
Okay, so go ahead and hit T on your keyboard.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So
okay, I missed that one.
Yep, no, you're totally good. So that is a good point. On the left-hand side there in your toolbar, there is a button that says text.
Mm-hmm.
This is another way you can do it. So in here, you'll find not only sample header, subject, and body text, but you'll also see some fun pre-made text templates that when you would click on them, they would populate automatically in the same layout, font, all that good stuff. That's available for you too. If you were to select one of these guys up top here, this is what it would come up to be. I just do the T shortcut, but you're more than welcome to use this method as well. Alrighty, so once we've got our text changed to white, and it should be Arial font, we are going to change the font size. What size did I have for this? All right, we are going to change this to a 38 font. Or no, 20. Do 28 font, excuse me. Size 28. And where you change font size is going to be up here in the top toolbar as well. And then we're going to go ahead and select all of the type in there, your paragraph text, the sample text, and we're going to type 1, 2, 3, 4, Main Street. Des Moines, Iowa. Okay, so once you've got that all typed out, kind of go ahead and position the text box in the dead center of the bar that we created. So Canva has guidelines that pop up when you're trying to arrange a document. Do you see the pink lines that are popping up right now? As I move this around. Those are guiders that will help you when you want something to be center or in line with something else. And looks like mine is nice and dead center. Good to go. So this is actually not the font we're going to leave this as. Whenever I'm typing something, I like to do a font that's really nice and readable, just because like sometimes we type too fast and things get misspelled. I'm guilty of that, Lord knows. So I will leave this easy to read font until I know everything looks good. And then I'm going to go ahead and change it to a little bit of a fancier font. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and select the entire text box. We're going to click our drop down font menu bar here. And then you're going to search for Callum Light. So this is the one that's in the free version that you're encouraged to use here. I'm going to go ahead and use Blackhawk. This is the one from Remax that if you've got the paid version, you can upload to your account. I can show you how to do that later if you're so inclined. And once you've added, change that font to be Callum Light, or yeah, we'll go with Callum Light for right now. Go ahead and select the text box and use the size guides here in the corners to either expand or minimize the text box. We want it to fit nice and snug there in this blue bar. Everybody with me? All right. So once we've got that taken care of, we are going to move on to the footer. So what we're going to do first is go ahead and hit R on your keyboard. Once again, that's going to bring up a gray rectangle. When you're in this rectangle, we're going to go ahead and first change it to that blue color we've been using this whole time. But this time, we're not going to change the opacity. We're going to leave it to be 100% opaque. But we are going to shrink it down because obviously this is not cute. So we're going to go ahead and drag it down and go ahead and just eyeball it to be how the thickness you think looks all right, because we need enough room here in the white space to add body text for the flyer. We also need enough room down here to add some information. So go ahead and just eyeball what you think looks best, and we can always adjust it later. So now you should have what looks like a giant blue bar down the bottom. Excuse me, dropped my mouse. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and add your photo. So one nice thing about Canva is when you upload things, they will stay there. So like your photo, compliance logo, such as the realtor logo, equal housing logo, you can upload those and they will live in Canva permanently unless you delete them. So what you're gonna do, does everybody happen to have a headshot handy, or do you need to use do you have a headshot or a picture you can use for this for demonstration purposes? If not, you can just look up one on the photos and I'll show you how to do that. So the first thing
you can always demo and just have them put it in later too.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is add a frame. So adding a frame does a couple of things. One, it's going to allow you to determine what shape your picture is in. It also fits it to be a certain shape. So instead of just being a square or a rectangle, it can like round it out to be a circle. It can chop it off and be a rectangle. It does all the hard work for you. So we're going to head back to the Elements tab, open that up. I'm going to get out of shapes. We want to be in this normal bar here. And I'm going to scroll down. Right below shapes is frames. I'm going to select See All. As you can see, there's a whole big bunch of different frames in here. that can be used for all different kinds of things. Today we're going to keep it simple. We're going with the circle. So I'm going to select him and open it up. You know it's a frame versus a shape if it's got this like sky grass picture in it. That's when you know it's a frame. So what we're going to do once it's on our screen is drag it down to be a little bit smaller and position it in the bottom right corner of our flyer. What I like to do is about 3/4 of the circle on the blue bar and then about 1/4 of it above the blue bar. And again, if it ends up being too big, too small, we can always go back later and resize. So don't stress about it too much now. So once we've got the frame positioned, we're going to change the image because obviously you don't want to print a flyer with the weird sky background in where your picture should be. So we're going to select it, and I'm going to reference over here to my uploads. So in here is where you can upload photos, logos. If you have a personal logo, you can upload the concepts logos, compliance logos. This is where they can live for you. If you have the paid version, it allows you to do things called folders, which is honestly, in my opinion, makes Canva worth it in and of itself because it allows you to organize all your various assets. So like for me, I do all of your guys' birthday, anniversary posts and things on Concept Social. So I have a folder with all your faces in it just to help keep track of everybody because otherwise it would take me 3 days to find anything. We've got a agent logos folder, so some of our agents are on teams. We may need those logos for certain things. We've got a concepts logos folder that have like compliance logos, Trust logos. If you have the paid version, you can make folders like this. If you don't, everything will live in the uploads section, which is fine. It just takes a little more time to find what you're looking for. So what I'm going to do is scroll until I find a picture.
Hey, Madison, quick question.
Yeah.
As a new agent,
Yep.
where do we get the Remax Concepts logo, like to
Yeah,
use on
great
our
question.
flyers?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've been added yet to Google Drive. Do you know yet if you have been?
All I know is I have .loop in my email.
Okay, so you might have been added to it. But we have a shared Google Drive folder, and then it's called Resources for Agents. And in there,
Okay.
you'll find a whole slew of different pieces that can help you with your business. So here, I'll just go.
Okay.
I'll pull it up real quick so you can see it. There are things for the school, for marketing, for max insurance, for, there's a
Awesome.
ton of stuff in here. So when you're in this folder, it'll be the logos and graphics. If you want to do Remax Concepts logos. That lets me, there we are. And then we have inline, concepts commercial, and then stacked. Inline is just when the Remax is next to the concepts. Stacked is when the Remax is on top of the concepts.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. We've got color, black and white, and all white. We're also coming out with all black versions shortly as well. So you can download these out of here and then upload them into Canva, and then they'll be there for you whenever you need them.
Awesome.
So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just pull my headshot out here. And like Michelle said, you're more than welcome to just do this part later on. So what I'm going to do, I found my headshot here. I'm going to drag it and drop it directly into that circle, and it's automatically going to resize it for me. It doesn't crop my head off. It doesn't make it look funny. Go ahead. Talking is just a lot of work these days. Oh my gosh. It resizes it for me without pixelizing it or anything like that. So that's good. We're going to move on. Okay, so now we're going to add your name, comma realtor, because they need to know who is listing this. So we're going to go ahead and hit the T on our computer, our keyboard once again. Text box is going to appear. We're not going to use this font for it this time. Go ahead and use Arial. And I want to say we're using Gotham Bold. or Arial bold if you're using the free. I'm gonna go ahead and type my name. I'm not a realtor, but don't tell the commission. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use the corner toggles to make it smaller. That's another way to adjust font size. And I'm gonna drag it down and drop it next to my photo. So I don't usually like having things butted up that close to a border. I like having a little bit more breathing room around the edge, so I'm gonna drag it down a touch. And then just like before, the black doesn't look great on this blue, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it white. Beautiful. And then the next thing we're gonna do is add your contact information. So one quick tip I do a lot of the time when I'm trying to be consistent with fonts and sizes and things is I actually will just copy and paste a text box and then retype whatever I need it to be. So you can right click, copy, right click, paste, or the way that I do it is just Control C, Control V, or Command if you're on a Mac like I am. And now we've got, okay, I'm sorry, Michelle, realtor. All right, there we are. Yes, technically the realtor should be in all caps with the registered trademark, but we're not gonna post this, so it's gonna be okay. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and drop this. This is gonna have our contact information. I'm going to make that a smaller font. I'm gonna go with Gotham Book, or Gotham Light is fine too. And it's in the same font family, it's just a lot thinner. So in here, we're gonna add our phone number, email, and office address. So, 75, email. Good Lord. Okay. And then my office address. All right. We've got that all in there and it's looking good. However, one thing that I really try to do whenever I'm working with text is make sure everything is lined up consistently. So this graphic is right justified, meaning that pretty much everything is stemming from the right side of the document here. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on these lines here. If you hover over it, it'll tell you what it is. It's the alignment button. I'm gonna click on it until it is right justified. And when I do that, you see how it shifts all the text over to be on the right side of the text box? And that way it's in line with the, good Lord, stop moving, with the My Name Realtor text box. So everything is nice and organized because I hate when things are out of whack. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is add compliance logos. So compliance logos are very important if you're ever going to be doing anything printed, anything client facing. It's just a good idea to include the equal housing logo, the realtor logo, and the phrases licensed to sell real estate in Iowa, and each office is independently owned and operated. So to do that, I'm actually going to reference back to the concepts folder in the resources for agents file in Drive. And I'm going to go ahead and open the logos for compliance folder. Again, this is in the folder logos and graphics, but if you were to just go up to the search bar and search logos for compliance, this folder would pop up. You don't have to go digging for it manually. So I'm going to open this up. And we need both the equal housing and the realtor logo. So when I'm working with any color that's not white, I will always use the white logos for this. The black ones will look kind of funny. Just, it's my personal preference. If it doesn't bother you, that's totally fine. You don't need to do that, but it's just the way I roll. So I'm gonna go ahead and right click on these logos and download. I'm gonna right click on this one and download. And I'm going to hop back over to our piece here, and I'm going to open up our uploads folder. And I'm going to hit upload an image or video. And then my wheel will spin. All right, so then I'm going to go over to my downloads folder. All right, so then I've got my white realtor logo and the white equal housing logo. I'm going to go ahead and select both of these because you can upload more than one thing at a time, and hit open. When I do that, up here at the very tippity top, both of those logos are now in my Canva uploads folder. Gotta wait for them to finish uploading here. Perfect. All right, so now what we're going to do is put these on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and select our equal housing. Are you going to come over? There we are. And then I'm going to select our realtor logo. So this realtor logo, we will fix it at some point. For whatever reason, there's a really big amount of white space or blank space around the actual R. So I'm going to go ahead and crop it first by using the toggle lines on the actual logo. So we've got one on top and bottom and the left and right. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag it down to remove some of that white space. So now the teal bar is sitting right close to the actual logo. The reason I do that is because we want these to be similar sizes. We don't want one to be significantly larger than the other and vice versa. Because one of my tricks for resizing is doing, when you want things to be the same size, is resizing them at the same time. So the way you do that is super easy. You're going to select one of them, and like I said, you'll know it's selected when the teal bar shows up around the edge. You're going to hit your shift key, and you're going to select the other one. So when you do that, now you've got a teal bar all the way around the perimeter of both of the shapes. And then when you reference the size toggle in the corners, you can drag them down and they'll get smaller together. And then we can drag them down to our footer. So with these, they're important that they be there, but they don't have to be huge. They just need to be present. So what we're going to do is make them even smaller. But as you can see here, when I do this, it's not letting me make them smaller. It's because after a certain point, Canva can't see that little. So what we're going to do is actually hit Command or Control plus and zoom in. Or if you click on this bottom zoom here, you can make it bigger. Ooh. Oh no, I made it my whole screen. We don't want that. Go away. All right. So I zoomed in, and I'm going to go ahead and maneuver my way to the footer here. Ooh. All right. I'm going to go ahead and select both of these guys again, and now it's going to let me make it even smaller. So now they're nice and minuscule, which is just what we want. All right. When things get really tiny like this, it's also sometimes hard to select both items, but you can drag. So if you click outside of the art board here, you click and drag over an object, it will select anything that you drag your mouse over. But if you were like, oh no, I didn't mean to select the blue bar also, all you need to do is hit shift and click the blue bar and it will unselect itself. So now we're back to just clicking on these two guys here. But I'm pretty happy with the size of those. I'm going to leave them as is. And the next thing we're going to do is add the two compliance phrases, which are each office is independently owned and operated and licensed to sell real estate in Iowa. Or if you're like, I believe Jen is dual licensed, isn't she? I don't know if Jen's still on here. But so if you're licensed in 2 states, you can do both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the T button on my keyboard. Once again, I'm going to type each office is independently owned and operated. All right, so obviously that's way too big. This is just like the logos. We want it to be there. It doesn't have to be huge. So I'm going to go ahead and make it white and drag it down. Even it being that small is totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that, Control C, Control V, or Command C, Command V. And then I'm going to select all of the text and type out license to sell real estate. And that was not spelled right. In Iowa. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and line him up next to his little friend here. And there we are. We have our compliance pieces already in place. All right. So we're looking pretty good. The last thing, and one of the most important things we need to add, is the concepts logo. So just like compliance, it's super duper duper important to disclose your brokerage on anything that you print or put online. It's a good rule of thumb that I would get into the habit of as soon as you start designing anything. And as I mentioned earlier, I have a folder here with our logos in. And if you have the paid version of Canva, you can make one of these folders as well. However, in the meantime, they live in the Remax Concepts logos folder in Google Drive. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. Which one did I want for this? I'm going to pull the stacked white logo, which is this guy right here. So when I select it, it's gonna automatically populate in Canva. Obviously, it's far too large, so I'm going to go ahead and drag it down, again, using those corner size toggles. And once it's to a size I'm happy with, I'm going to drag it down here. Now, if we reference the final product, you can see that I have it a lot larger than I do currently, which means a few things are going to need to happen. We're going to need to make this text here smaller and the logo bigger. So same trick to select two objects. Select the text box, hit Shift, select the other text box, and you're now going to have both text boxes selected. At which point you can use those corner size toggles, drag down, and make it smaller. I'm good with that. And then I'm going to go ahead and make our logo larger. Beautiful. All right, so now we've got all of our compliance information. We've disclosed our brokerage, our office, all of those important bits and pieces. So now we're ready to move on to the meat of the flyer. So before I do that, does anybody have any questions at all? All right. So the meat of the flyer here is going to be, show you. Basically, it's information about this house. We're making this up because this house doesn't exist. We are going to create some icons for bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, as well as a description of the home. So I'm going to go ahead and flip back over to our document. Another one of my shortcuts is if you hit C, the letter C on your keyboard, a circle will show up. And this is going to be the basis for our icons. So obviously it's very large, it's very gray, that's not what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and select our color box up here in the top left and change it to blue. Same blue that we had for our footer. I'm going to drag him down with the corner size toggles and make him pretty small. I don't know, what is that, like a dime maybe? And I'm going to go ahead and copy this so we have 3 of them. We want 3 of the exact same size, and you're going to line these up kind of like buttons on a snowman. And you can use those guidelines that Canva has as a way to help you, because if you're like me, things can't be off center. Drives me crazy. And Canva actually recently came out with a new tool for spacing something. So when you've got like a row of something and you want the space between each item to be the same, go ahead and click them, select multiple items like we've been doing with hitting Shift. If you hit the position button, there is a space evenly. We want to be evenly spaced vertically. So now the space between each of these dots is exactly the same. It's really great for my OCD. It's very handy. And if you were, for example, wanting to make sure something was centered in the middle, that's an option. You can center things left and right too. So this position button is super helpful. Alrighty, so once we've got our 3 dots, we're gonna make our icons. And the way that we do that is hop back over to our elements button. I'm gonna get out of the frames section. And for this, we're actually gonna use the search bar. And the first thing we're gonna search for is bed, because we want to make our bedrooms icon. I'm gonna search for bed. Alrighty, so for you guys, there are gonna be some, like this one here. Do you see the little $sign on this graphic here? That means you have to pay to use it when you download the piece. But there are a ton of others. I mean, most of these here you can see are free. I'm gonna go ahead and use this one because we wanna make sure we're using one that we can change the color of. For example, if you were to say using this one, oh, come back. It's got a ton of different colors happening in this one, but we don't have the option to change its color. With this one, we do. And you know that you're able to change color when you have the color box appear in the top left corner, just like we've been doing. So I'm gonna delete this guy because he's ugly and not helpful. I'm gonna reselect the bed. And we're gonna turn it white because we are gonna place it on top of this first circle. But obviously he is far too large to fit on said circle, so we're gonna take the size toggles and shrink him down. And when something like this, it gets really small, it can be hard to move sometimes. So it's got, it'll give you a little cursor button here that you can use to move an object when it's that little. And that's probably a little bit too small, so I'm gonna make him a bit larger. Readjust. I wanted to fill up the majority of the space in the circle, but still have enough room that you can tell what it is. So beautiful, there we are, we have our bed. Now I'm gonna go ahead and search bathtub. Alrighty, so for me, this one is a pro tub there. Let me see if I can find one that's just free. Let's try. Sometimes you need to change up your search terms as well. That will, there we are. Okay, so here we are. This guy is free, so he is on your Canva, the free version, and we are able to change the colors. So we want to make it totally white. We're gonna, even though there are 2 colors in this graphic, we're gonna make them both white. Shrink them down, drag them over, resize it to fill up the majority of the circle, and that is good to go. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna search for is a house icon to represent square footage, because that was the best way I could think of to represent square footage. So this little house is available to you guys in the free version. We're gonna select it, turn it white, drag it over to our circle and make him smaller. All right. So now we have our 3 icons representing bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage. The next thing we'll need to do is add text that says how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and how much square footage. Pardon me. We're gonna hit the text box button, and let's see, how many bedrooms did we say? Okay, so we have 4 bedrooms in our make-believe house. So I'm gonna type 4 bedrooms. And here we're gonna introduce another color from our hex numbers in the handout. So I'm gonna go ahead and triple click in the text box, selecting the entire phrase I've typed out. I'm gonna head up here to our rainbow A. And in the search bar, you're gonna use the hex number 1A3668. And it's this navy blue right here. Sense concepts and Remax are we use red and blue. I try to avoid using black type if I can, unless I'm doing a black and white design. Just because even though it's a super small detail, I like how the navy looks with all of the other blue details, but that's again up to you and your personal preferences. So once we've got our 4 bedrooms all placed where it needs to be right here beneath our icon, I'm gonna go ahead and copy him. So Command C, Command V. I'm gonna drag it beneath our bathrooms. And we have, I wanna say 3.5 baths is what I put, yeah. Okay, so this will happen occasionally. A text box will think it will be too small, so it's gonna break things up into multiple lines. Super easy fix is just drag it out, stretch it out on the side here, and it'll all come back to 1. So we're gonna resize it, line it up here with our icons. I'm gonna scoot it down just a touch. A good tip, if you're trying to move something very slightly, you can use your arrow keys on your keyboard and it will move it up, down, right, left, very, very incrementally. So you can make those minor adjustments. Again, I'm a little OCD and I like things to be pretty perfect. So it helps me out a lot. If you're like me, you'll know what I'm about here. All right, and then we're gonna do 2,000 square feet. Cut out the whole thing. All right, and then he is positioned right below the icon as well. So now we have our 3 icons and 3 descriptors for those icons. And last but not least here, we're going to add the text for the flyer. So we're gonna hit T on our keyboard, a text box will appear. Let's see what I use for the header. So for this one, I said, welcome to your new home. Obviously that's very small, not very impactful, not gonna catch many eyeballs. So we're gonna go ahead and make it bold. It's gonna be thicker that way. And then we're also gonna make it navy. So it's gonna be the same color that you used for our icons here. And then what I'm gonna do is drag it. It's not gonna be dead center in the page, but I'm gonna center it beneath the 1234 Main Street, Des Moines. That's what I'm using as my guide to center it. And we are gonna use, what size font did I make for that? He's gonna be 20-point font. So I'm gonna open up this guy here. The closest is 21. You can do 21 or just go ahead and type 20 and that will work as well. I'm gonna again duplicate this. So Command C, Command V. And then for that text box, we are gonna have him be a 12-point font. That is standard for body text. Body text is like the meat of a flyer where the bulk of the writing is. And then since it's body text, it's not gonna be bold. We're gonna go ahead and make him Gotham Light Regular, or in your case, just Arial Normal. All right, and then I have a little paragraph pre-typed out. I'm gonna cheat and use the one I did last time because it's a lot of typing. So when you copy and paste directly into this text box, it's pretty large, but I don't love how far it stretches out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take our size toggles, drag it in, and it will automatically adjust the placement of the lines for me. And then I'm gonna go ahead and position him right below our welcome to your new home. And that is the bulk of designing a flyer. So once one has made their flyer, a common question I get is, what the heck do I do with it now? Because how do I get it out of here? What do I do with it? Okay, sorry. So up here in the top right corner, you're gonna see a couple of different buttons. The downward arrow is the download button. It's the most common. It's what I use pretty much for everything. And there are several different options for you depending on what you're doing. So if you're going to have this flyer printed, like to leave out at an open house, PDF print is the suggested. It's going to give you the best quality. If you were wanting to put this on Facebook, you would do a PNG or a JPEG. And then they also have options for video and GIFs. That is for if you wanted to do a video or a GIF. We don't have anything moving on here, but Canva does give you the option to make your own GIFs if you were so inclined. We're not going to use that for this one. I'm going to go with PDF print. And so a few steps ago, I accidentally made a duplicate page. So when I go to download it, it asks me if I want to download all pages. I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this drop-down bar, and I'm just going to select page 1 and done. So if you were to be sending this to a printer, a professional printer, they would probably ask you for what are called crop marks and bleed. That is printer vernacular. So basically it means they won't accidentally lop off like part of a letter or part of the picture or whatever. So if you were sending it to a professional printer, all you have to do is hit that checkbox there and then download. It'll give you this nice little creative quote, does a different one every time. And then it's going to appear in my downloads. So then when I open him up, this is the preview. So now you can see there is a white bar around the entire design. Those are the crop marks and bleed. So that way when the printer were to print it out, it wouldn't cut off anything important. If you wanted to do it normal, just download PDF, select the page, and then download. And then now you are able to attach it to an email. If it was an image, so an image is a PNG or a JPEG file. You can add that to Facebook, to Instagram, put it in a newsletter, whatever you want to use it for. It is down there on your computer. It is at this point, if you were to have a paid image in your piece, so like we're going to pretend here for a second. I don't know why that's not showing up. All right, so this image here is paid. It's got the little $sign on it. When you go to download, it's going to ask you to pay and download. So it costs $1. So that's just how you know if you've added something that is not free. At this point, you can then go back and change it if need be. And then it's no longer pay. Okay, so that's making a flyer. Michelle, is this class an hour or 2?
This is 1 hour.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? So Canva adds new stuff all the time, so it's a good idea to just get in there and play around. Here, I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Buy something? Does it do
Yeah, so if you have any questions when you're in there playing, feel free to shoot me a message or an email. I'm happy to help in whatever way I can. Yeah, that's Canva.
Madison, one question.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Nope, you're fine.
If we purchase that logo, like you just said, pay or download and pay or whatever that was, is that your logo for good, or do you have to pay for that?
So it depends. If you were to buy it and then you download it and you're like, oh crap, I misspelled a word, and you went right back and downloaded it, it wouldn't make you pay again. It's yours for 24 hours. You can, however, if it's something you're going to use on the regular, you can pay $10 and then it's yours forever.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Anybody else have anything for me?
You did an awesome job, Madison.
Thanks. It was my first online teaching experience. So this is
Thanks, Madison. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Bye, everybody.